Right. I want to talk about beginner guitar soloing. So up to this point, I have been talking about things, assuming that you already know what I'm talking about, like modes and pentatonic runs and scale fragments. But it just occurred to me that what if, or maybe there are some beginner listeners out there. So just want to address that. So the best way I could talk about this is to share my experience when I was a beginner. So I remember my brother taught me, or because he was the one who taught me when I was starting out, and he told me that I need to learn the major scale. So the first thing that I learned, the first few shapes of the major scale that I learned was this. And this. So immediately what came to my mind when he told me that is, and then when I learned that, was if I just practice that enough, I'll be able to play Stairway to Heaven or Hotel California and shred like Jimmy Page or Sweet Child of Mine, guitar solos. But there was something missing, and what he failed to teach me was, let me just give you a demo of what happened vaguely at that time. So I recorded a loop here in a C sharp minor key. It's a chord progression: C sharp minor, F sharp minor, and G sharp minor. So this is how the loop will go. This is going to be the chord progression for this demo. So an idea of what happened then was this. Oops. So yeah. So that's what I did, and it sounded wrong. So there are two things that I learned after that helped me start to solo properly, at least. So what my brother failed to tell me was that the major scale and the chord progression has to be in sync, or the chord progression that you're playing over, or the song that you're playing over, has a key. So if you want to play, or if you're using C major over that chord progression, then that's not going to work, because that was in the key of C sharp minor, which is E major. So you need to play the E major scale. So instead of playing this, I need to play immediately. It sounded right enough if you play the right key. So that's what I learned then. That when I noticed that for every song or chord progression that you're playing over, that has a certain key based off of those chords that are being played, as well as it correlates to the key that you're going to be using, or the scale that you're going to be using. So if it's in the key of E, you need to play the E major scale. So if it's in the key of C, C major scale. So it sounds like stupid at that time when I was doing it, but it made sense. So lesson number one that I learned was that you can't just play any major scale and expect it to work. So you need to find the key of the song, then play, and then that will give you the idea of what major scale you're gonna use. So let's talk about the key for a moment. So let's say that was in the key of E major. So let's take a look at the E major scale. So for every scale, it has like a formula of chords, to put it simply. So the formula is always like this: major. So for the first note, it's always going to be a major chord. So E, E major. Second chord, F sharp minor. And it follows minor. So E, major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, minor flat 5. So that's the formula. So if we take a look at the chords or the notes of the E major scale and follow that formula of the major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, minor flat 5 back to the root, we will have these set of chords: E major, F sharp minor, G sharp minor, A, B major, C sharp minor, then what's this? Yeah, E flat, E minor flat 5, E flat minor flat 5, yeah. Then back to E. So those are the set of chords within the majors, E major scale. And that formula will follow for every key that you'll be playing. So if you're playing C, so it follows the major, C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B minor flat 5, and then back to C. So with that like guide, we have an idea of whatever chord progression it is. We will have an idea based on those chords that are being used in whatever song. We can extract the key of the song. So for example, if you have A minor, or let's say so A minor, F major, C major, G major, those chords will map out, or at least give us an idea that it is in the key of C, because the C, F, and G are all major. And like if you take a look at the formula again, C major, D minor, E minor, F major, and G major, then A minor, they all fit in the key of C major. If you try to play a different major scale with that chord progression, it might sound off, and that's okay. You can try a different scale, but you have to let your ears guide you to tell you that okay, this doesn't sound right. This might be another key. So yeah, it's at first it will be like trial and error, and you'll get good at it, and eventually you'll encounter chord progressions with key chord changes and like different keys within the chord progression. So that's in a different topic that's like advanced already. So yeah, with that chord progression, this is in the key of E major or C sharp minor. So there's also like relative minor for every key. So you use the correct major scale or scale for the corresponding key of the song. So that's lesson number 1. So lesson number 2 that I learned when I was trying to learn how to solo as a beginner was, I'd like to mention a classmate of mine in high school. His name was Luis Quebranza. I'm sure you know him. Shout out, Brad. Luis Quebranza is the frontman of the Kings, currently, Kings. Because when I was in high school, basically the kind of guitarist that I was just like, I learn a song, like whatever is trending at that time, like, you know, the usual things that we learn. And I just learn it and just show it off to my classmates. I'm like, Stranger by the Day, guitar solo, and what else? So I learned those guitar solos or riffs. What else? And yeah, I just like show it off, and that's how I was. Like, and that's the kind of guitarist I was. I never had like any idea of how to like improvise or create my own music. But it was when I saw my classmate Luis Quebranza. We were jamming one time, and he was just playing off a chord progression like this. And without any backing track, he was soloing over it. That's not exactly what he did, but something like that, and it just blew my mind away. And I was just like, ingon na naon dahil na paggamit ang scale. You don't just play up and down. So, whoops, messed it up there. So if you apply that, it was an eye-opener for me, but I didn't have like a solid idea of what I learned at that time. But what went on in my mind was I just wanted to imitate what he did. So what I did after that was just like this. Instead of just playing the scale up and down, so I applied what he did, which was basically apply the scale in a musical context, which is so the same shape that I learned, but I wasn't playing up and down anymore. So that's the second lesson. The first one was you need to figure out what key, so that you know what scale you're using, or what scale you need to use. And the second one is apply the scale. Don't just play the scale up and down the neck or whatever position you're playing in. Play it in a musical context. So within that lesson, I have 3 tips, or 2. So the first one is follow the melody in your head. So if you have like even just a vague melody, like something like that. I'm not really a good singer, but even if you have that like melody in your head, that was just a 3-note phrase. I'm not going to do it again, but you can try to follow it, even if you can't, even if you don't know what the exact notes are. So something like that. I don't know what I don't have perfect pitch. I don't know what those notes are exactly, but I'm gonna try this. So immediately that wasn't the notes that I was singing, but I was able to play a musical phrase, not something that was, or an exercise. It doesn't sound like an exercise. It sounded like a phrase. So and you can try different notes with that phrase, the 3 notes, the you can try that with different notes in the scale. So, or so those are just a series of 3-note phrases, like but different notes. So that's the first tip. The second one is apply slides, hammer-ons, and pull-offs. If you apply slides, hammer-ons, and pull-offs instead of just playing a sequence, like you immediately sound melodic, and it sounds as if you are intentional with your phrasing. So instead of sounding like playing the scale up and down like an exercise. So let's try that. Let's try applying hammer-ons and pull-offs and slides. And also bends as well. So combining the melody that you hear in your head, even though you're not exactly sure what the exact notes are, just try, because eventually, your musical vocabulary will develop, and you will have a more strong sense of coordination of what you hear in your head and what you'll be able to play in your hands. So just keep on doing it, and also you'll develop more phrases. And I also like to add another tip here. Learn solos from different musicians. That's a good tip as well. So yeah, by combining the melody in your head and applying hammer-ons and pull-offs, that's immediate thing that you can do as a beginner to instantly improve your soloing. So yeah, let's do that. Following I'm not moving around. It's just the same major scale that I learned, or that I showed you when the first position or shape that I learned when I was a beginner. So and once you've developed you have the confidence already to move around, you can just play freely, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. So that's it, beginner soloing. That's how I learned, or at least what I remember, lessons that I learned when I was a beginner. So I hope that helps. Thanks for watching.